That's ISO.
Rack it up, I gotta build up the bank to make me a safe house.
It's Monday morning, the start of another week. It's also the end of a month. It's the 30th of September, so we are pretty much into October, and it certainly feels like autumn is here. It's absolutely hammering it down with rain. It's grey, it's miserable, it's pretty windy, it's quite cold, 13 degrees. So yeah, the autumnal weather is definitely here. We're currently on the A46, hot-footing it to Sleaford. We've just been to a BS 5837 tree survey in Derby this morning, and now we're on our way to another British Standard 5837 survey in Sleaford. We do a lot of British Standard 5837 surveys, and for those that are not in the know and are outside the industry, basically, if you were planning on building or developing your house or renovating it or extending it, building a new house, maybe acquiring some land to build several houses, or a commercial development like offices, those sort of things. But yeah, essentially you will need that survey for planning. So we've been to one in Derby this morning. That's for a renovation to a home that's being extended, having a new extension and being renovated, so its footprint will change. There weren't really a great deal of constraints on that site. Most of the tree cover was off-site, so we all just need to be mindful of any root spread that is directed into the site. So when they come to do any excavation or earthworks or ground level changes, all those sort of things, they need to be aware of the constraints posed by trees, technically under third-party ownership. In other news, it went a little bit mad on Friday. So these two jobs that we're pulling in now, originally we just had the one job booked in the diary, but this one came in late. The one in Sleaford came in late. It was a last minute request, and because we are so busy, incredibly busy right now, I've got to try and fit them in where I can. So it's a trip, like I say, Derby to Sleaford, back to Nottingham, back to base, back to HQ, and then tomorrow we're over in Nuneaton. Wednesday we're back in Dudley. Wednesday and Friday we're back in Dudley doing the tree officer support, and on Thursday we've got another site in Birmingham that we're going to go and pick up. And again, that request came in on Friday or Saturday. It might have even been Saturday that I sent the quote for that one, and it's been approved and come off. So yeah, it's all gone a little bit mad. And then I've got a survey on Saturday itself, so I'm going to be working this weekend. I don't normally do weekends, but like I say, we are really busy because the week after I'm in Leeds for a massive survey, which ties my hands as to what else I can do. So yeah, essentially we've just got a lot on, which means we're having to pull in some weekend shifts, and that is usually something I avoid. But when you run your own business and there's only you to pick up the jobs, then you have to do what you got to do. Anyway, right, heading over to Sleaford.
Yes.
Hey mate, you alright?
Yeah, good, thanks. You?
Yeah, not bad, thanks. Not bad. Not bad.
Good.
I'm back in the car. You can say hello to YouTube if you like, because I record everything now.
Hello, YouTube.
No, I won't record everything. How was your holiday?
Yeah, it was amazing. A great sort of weather for being up in the mountains, really. So
Yeah.
spectacular views. So, how are things with you anyway?
Yeah, busy, really busy. Last couple of weeks I've been in the office probably an afternoon out of the last 2 weeks.
So, I'll let you know if I am around on Friday. But,
Yeah, well, let me know. Let me know.
Can meet up somewhere for a quick coffee and stuff before I head off to site and stuff. So.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So I had every intention of filming some of today's site, but it is absolutely hammering it down. It's like driving rain. I found shelter in amongst a bit of woodland, but it is just absolutely hammering it down. It's gross. So I'm currently in this bit of woodland trying to find just a little break from the rain, because it's just, I've been going for about 2 hours and I've had enough now. I can't describe it. It's the worst rain I think we've had this year. The ground underfoot is just soaking. I should have bought me flipping waders. Woo! Oh my god. How am I going to get across there? I think we'll be approximating these trees. And as I've said before in last week's episode, and if you haven't been to check out last week's episode, make sure you do. Make sure you hit like and subscribe while you're there. Got to do the whole YouTube thing. But I didn't want to start Tuesday in the car, but the weather is absolutely diabolical. I had every intention of filming the site I was on today. It was a big BS 537 survey, so a survey for a development project, and I thought, yeah, I'll take everything. So I took the drone, packed everything up, even though the weather was saying it was going to rain, but I thought, no, just might pass. There might be a little bit where it dries up, and it absolutely hammered it down all day, which is why my high vis is on the back of the chair, because it is soaked through. It was the worst survey of the year, hands down the worst survey of the year. I have had some pretty bad surveys at the start of this year, but this is the wettest weather I have known for a survey for a very, very long time. My coat is soaked, my gear was all soaked. I had to bring my camera equipment back to the car because I took it out in my bag, and after probably 45 minutes, my Berghaus hiking bag, which is waterproof, or supposed to be waterproof, had completely soaked through. So I thought, I don't want to risk nearly £1,000 worth of equipment with the DJI Osmo Pocket. I also had my Insta360 camera in there and my iPhone. I thought, I don't want to risk this. So I walked back to the car, dropped everything off, and persisted and got it done. And now I'm in the relative comfort of my car, although I'm a little bit damp. It's really horrible when you sat in wet, damp clothes. But we got the survey done, and that's the main thing, and that'll keep our client happy, because it's not one of our projects. This is actually a project that we were subcontracted in to do. So we are assisting another consultancy with the data collection on this project, and they will be happy because at least the survey's done. Because I'm not going to get another chance to go to that site for about 2.5-3 weeks. Oh, look at them tractors. It all went to like a tractor. Sorry, I'm distracted by the Case showroom. Look at that. We seem to be picking up a few jobs at the minute where somebody else has been and done the survey. They've written the ARB impact assessment for planning, so the report that you need for planning permission, and then the planning's been approved with conditions, and one of those conditions being how are those trees going to be protected and how are you going to work around them. And I always find it very odd that people then come to us instead of going back to the person that did the impact assessment, particularly when they're a homeowner application. I kind of get it with the bigger developments, but with the smaller developments, you'd think, well, if we had a consultant get us through planning, then we go back to that consultant for the method statement. But when I speak to clients, I often find that the consultant that did the report for planning isn't interested in doing the method statement because, I don't know, it might be a little bit complicated or a little bit in depth, a little bit, I don't know, over their heads. or they simply don't feel like they can deliver a method statement, perhaps for the price other people do. I don't really know. I don't really get it. It's a weird one. So yeah, we've picked up a few of them, which means I've had to cram in another survey for a Saturday. These Saturdays are getting a little bit out of control. Anyway, I'm going to continue my journey back to the office, which is looking like a slow journey at the moment, with the traffic being as bad as it is. All being well, oh dear, and there's a car in the ditch. That's never a good thing, is it? It's Wednesday morning and I am back in Dudley. I'm currently just leaving Bilston, pulled into my usual spot to plan my day, and I'm now heading to the first inquiry, which is about 4 or 5 minutes away. Some alleged property damage, so we're going to go and have a look at that. And I'm pleased to say it is not raining. It stopped raining for now. Please hold off. Yesterday was absolutely awful. Not much filming got done, which is a real shame because it was a perfect project to film and show you a bit more about a BS 537 survey and how we conduct those and what's involved and what the process is and all those sort of things, as well as getting some nice visuals as well, because there were some stunning trees and there were some quite interesting trees as well, so it would have been a perfect one. But I didn't want the camera equipment to get absolutely soaked, and I'm sure you'll all sort of accept that as an excuse. Last night I got back to the office and after sorting a little bit of problem with the drains, but that's another story for another day, I got an email from DJI, and it looks like, and I'm not going to say this too quickly because until I've actually unboxed it and tried to set it up again, I can't make any guarantees, but it looks like the issue with the new drone, the DJI Air 3, I have to keep reminding myself which one it is resolved. They are going to send me a replacement RC controller. That would be great. The bill would have been £250, but they've concluded that it is a manufacturing issue, like I suspected, and like most of the forums that I read from DJI, or the DJI forums stated. So they are going to send a replacement at their own cost. £249 would have been the bill, but I'm pleased to say that that is no longer my bill to pay. And they are sending it back. Next day delivery, so it should be here today. We should receive it, and I will open it up with much trepidation and try and get it set up and see if we can get the controller to work. That would be great. If not, the cycle continues. Anyway, it's just gone 9 o'clock and I'm going to head to this first inquiry, pick things up from there. I've got a bunch of emails already coming in. Already been asked for a couple of quotes this morning, which I'm not complaining is great because we need all the work we can get. We are a small business, a new business at that, and I have plans to grow the revenue stream, so we must keep taking on work. So yeah, anyway, right, inquiries, a day of inquiries. I'll try and film what I can, but if you don't see me till later, then I apologise. But we will catch up then, and I'll let you know how it all went. And any other news, because stuff comes in. It's changing all the time. So it's just gone 3:30. I'm shooting down the A42 back towards HQ, heading home after a busy day in Dudley. Another load of inquiries, including some really interesting inquiries with potential structural claims and all that sort of stuff. So a real mixed bag today, some pruning work requests, some dead trees, and some structural claims. But I'm heading back down the A42, and on the route back I'm going to stop off at a place called Lockington Hall, which is the offices of a multidisciplinary consultancy. So a consultancy offering arboriculture and ecology and landscape design and master planning and all those things that I actually used to work for. I worked for them for the best part of 6 years. I haven't been back to their offices for 5 years now. Well, in fact, it's almost exactly 5 years since I left that company. But I'm calling in to see a former colleague and now friend of mine, Tom. He notified me a couple of weeks ago that there are some fruiting bodies and some fungi that have come out and emerged on some of the trees. Some of them I've known about for a while. There's a beech tree in the rear garden of the grounds, and I'm saying grounds and rear garden. The offices are a former stately home, so it's got some big parkland and access to some parkland to it. But in the rear garden in the parkland. There is a beech tree with Myripolis, there's an oak tree with fistulina or beefsteak fungus. So there's quite a lot to look at, and I'm going to go and do some photogrammetry, all being well, of those fruiting bodies to add them to my growing collection of 3D fungi, which is slowly getting there. That's starting to get bigger and bigger, that digital archive of common tree fungi in the UK. The plan is to build a online digital archive of all of those and make that accessible to the wider public and to education establishments and colleges, universities, those sort of things. But right now I'm still trying to add more and more to the collection, and that's the plan today, is to go and see if we can do some photogrammetry scans. All being well. I mean, it's brightened up a little bit, it's not raining, and actually, dare I say it, there's some blue skies on the horizon, so it might well stay dry and might be really good conditions. But we'll just see what the state of the fruiting bodies are in. We had a lot of rain yesterday, we've had a lot of rain over the last week, so that's likely going to have degraded some of them, but we will see. Or deliquescent, the breakdown, and I learned this from my partner, the breakdown of fungi or fruiting bodies, deliquescence, apparently. I don't know, I'll go with it though, it sounds good. Yesterday I was so fed up. By the time I got over that, it just rained. And it was like at one point, like midday, it was just sideways, and I was just like, I was just drenched. You know, you're just like, what the fuck is this? What am I doing? You know. So it turns out that Tom was holding out on me a little bit. No, or he said to me the other day, I don't know how good the fungi will be. And when we arrived, like I said earlier, he was like, I don't know how the fungi are going to be, how the fruiting body's going to be. It's been very wet, had a lot of rain. Whether I've done it justice or not, I don't know. I'm hoping I have. Took about 250 photos. So all being well, we've got a really good example of beefsteak fungus. There was also some chicken in the woods, which I didn't scan because they weren't great, but there was some amazing Myripolis, which we had to do a little bit of digging for. We had to go and find them. Tom had to get his pruning saw out and trim a load of stuff back. So all being well, those scans turn out as well as I can expect, but it's always difficult with fungi to know if you get enough photos, if you get enough overlap, if it's a tiered fungi, something like a Myripolis, if it's got several layers to it. Sometimes where you've got reference points between the layers, you get this kind of jelly-like surface that appears over the fungi. But all being well, it works, and that's what I hope, and I'll share that with you. It was always nice to see Tom, catch up though, put the world to rights, but I am on my way back to the office, back home, and I can eat. It's just gone 7 o'clock, and that's Tuesday. No, it's not. It's Wednesday. Is it Wednesday? What day are we on? I've lost track of days.
Hi, Callum.
Hi Claire, you alright?
No, I'm alright, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah.
Am I right in thinking you haven't used my trees at all?
No, not at all. I've seen it being used, but I've never used it myself. So good morning. It's Thursday. I nearly said it was Tuesday then, but it's definitely Thursday. And Thursday's got off with a right bang already. We've had a meeting this morning with one of our clients, and this is the same client that we help Dudley, the tree officer support, and we've got a big survey up in Leeds for them next week. So we've just had a meeting about how to use their data collection system and how to record stuff, level of detail expected on this project, as well as the health and safety, the usual, stay away from rivers and you know, watch out for farm machinery and that sort of stuff. And now we're flying over to Derby. I was actually meant to be there at 10:30. I'm running late. It's 20 to 11. I'm not there. I hate being late. I really hate being late, particularly when I've told a client I'm going to be there at a certain time. That really is a bugbear of mine. But it is all part of the day. It's all part of our job. It's all part of being a single person business. You can't be in two places at once, unfortunately. So on our way to Derby, we're doing a quick survey. It's not a massive site, and luckily the weather is held out. It's all right, so I might put the drone up and use the little DJI Mini 3 Pro to capture some high resolution top-down base mapping imagery, because we don't have a topo, and the OS tile is okay, but it's not great, and the aerial mapping of the site on the OS master map, or the sort of OS layers that we use in GIS, aren't great either. So yeah, so I might put the drone up and try and get ourselves some high res. That's the worst place you could have parked, my friend. Some high res imagery that we can use as a base map, but we'll see how that goes, because it's a little bit blustery. Although it's sunnier today, it's not raining, thank goodness. It is a little bit blustery. So that's that. We're on our way to that site, pick up a couple of trees. I think there's one big tree subject to a tree preservation order, a TPO, so that's a protected tree, so we need to work around that, and it's for discharge of condition, so we're doing an ARB method statement. Originally this site was surveyed by somebody else. We don't want to rely on third-party data, and that third-party data is a little bit out of date. It's a couple of years old, so with it being a discharge of condition and a method statement for a building that is going to be built in the root protection area of a TPO tree, I would rather have my own data and know that I can rely on that data. So this is really a formality, this survey. They've already had it been done before, like I say, and I always feel a little bit bad for charging somebody to go out and have a look again. Particularly, you know, homeowners and small clients, they tend to think, well, I've got the data, why do I need to do it again? But in this instance, we had a chat with the client and said, look, it's really important that we come and have a look at this, because I don't want to be preparing a method statement for something that's not accurate. You know, I want to make sure all of the data is as accurate as possible, or at least if I can't guarantee I can make it more accurate, at least I can say that I've been and my name's on it, and I'm not I'm not sort of shoving somebody else under the bus. So yeah. Then we're going to fly back to the office. It's a short day today because I am on childcare duties, so I've got pick up to do at school time, 3:15. So it's a short day and I've got so much work. It's been great having this work and I'm not complaining at all. I'd rather be busy than not busy. But one of the problems with that is that it's meant a lot of my time has been out of the office. So I've got a backlog of processing. I've got tree constraints plans to draw, impact assessments to write, method statements to write. I've got tree risk data to process and sort out. There is so much stuff still to do. So yeah, a lot of backlog. But what is exciting is the photogrammetry of the two models, the beefsteak and the Maripolis that we did yesterday with Tom, turned out amazing. I'm really pleased with them. I was a little bit worried. I was driving back up the M1, I'm not going to lie, when I spoke to you guys yesterday, and I thought, I'm not sure how these are going to turn out, because sometimes they're a bit hit and miss, particularly, like I've said before, where you've got quite a complex structure to a fruiting body, but they've turned out amazing. Just waiting for the drone to get a GPS fix. Once we've got a decent GPS fix, we can take off. Yeah, it's pretty stable at 50. Not much side movement. The wind's not pushing it. So our client will be knocking this building down here, this single-story flat roof building. and then the old existing garage will also be knocked down and replaced. And the excavation that they've done here is the back wall, or the exterior wall, new footprint of the proposed or now approved building. So that will be their rear wall here, and then 2-storey development running up there, joining with the existing corner of this plot. And the tree in question sits over here, and you can see the sort of distances they're going to have to work to whilst avoiding the rooting area of the over mature oak tree at the rear. I'm just making note that this is all pretty much unmade ground, so good for rooting volume. Then you've got this cobble paver, again porous, and there's gaps in it, so potentially roots all under here. And then at the rear they've also got sort of decorative stone, bit of astroturf in the far corner. Surfaces and ground they've got to be aware of, which is why they've done the trial dig, to try and establish whether they've got roots extending towards this historic garage. I mean, this garage has been here for some time, and so has this building, I assume, this outbuilding here. But they've still got to be mindful of the potential for roots to be all in this area of their garden. And that's why the method statement's important. I'm currently lost in the rabbit warren that is Derby, one big housing estate, as my former lecturer once said to me. And he wasn't wrong, it is one big housing estate. I am currently driving around going, how the heck do I get back out to the main road? So that was one of the jobs that we've picked up that's formally been surveyed by another consultant. They got them through the planning application phase and did the impact assessment. They've done that trench so they can basically determine whether there are large roots, structural roots going towards where they're going to be building and excavating. The whole construction will be a pile and beam construction. So there'll be essentially piles driven into the ground and then beams spread across, and that'll be the load bearing structure. So it's an alternative to foundation design to the usual kind of strip, hand dug trench foundations. And generally pile and beam, in accordance with BS 537, is seen as a more sort of considerate construction technique for foundations where you've got tree roots. So yeah, they've dug a trench, they've not found a great deal. I took a 3D scan of that trench so that if there's any questions about what they've done or what they found, and sometimes a 2D image doesn't always show exactly what's going on, so a 3D model allows you to move around the site in a sort of virtual sense, so to speak, and have a look at that trench and look down into the trench and really examine up closely, more so than a 2D image which you can't really move around or manipulate or zoom in and out of without a loss of quality. I also did a 3D Gaussian of the whole area, so I've got information to show on the current ground conditions, so the bit of sort of amenity lawn, and then you've got some cobblestone paths and some shrubbery and a bit of astroturf and stuff, so we can see that, you know, there's a non-porous surface, and here are the compacted hardcore and concrete surfaces. So quite a comprehensive set of details and evidence should it be challenged as to what we're proposing. The whole thing's going to take a little bit of phasing. They're going to have to do the build in a certain manner and the demolition of the existing buildings and garages in a certain manner, and then phase kind of how they uplift and move and maneuver stuff around the site. So yeah, quite a tricky, fiddly one, and you often find these small sites are quite fiddly. There's not a lot of working room for contractors. They need obviously their own spatial working requirements, and often they struggle to have the room they need, so we have to put ground boards in and temporary ground protection and make sure that they utilise existing surfaces where possible and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, complicated one. Anyway, I am on the A38. I am heading back to HQ and I've got some processing to do, but before that I'll grab a sandwich because I'm getting pretty hungry. So, and we should have a delivery for us waiting, which would be great. More on that. So it's Friday, and it's not the start of Friday. I am not on my way to Dudley. I'm actually on my way out of Dudley, and it's not because I forgot to record anything or anything like that. It's just, as I've explained before, and I've explained it last episode, and I've explained it I think in this episode, it's really, really difficult for me to film some bits of my day when I'm in Dudley because of the sort of sensitivity of the stuff we're dealing with, of the client information, the fact that I could disclose somebody's address, the fact that I'm going to somebody's house and I don't want to be filming them where they've got a right to privacy, essentially. So anyway, I have just got off the A42. I've sat in the worst traffic ever, but I had a phone call from a new client, a school in Ashby de la Zouch, and they were looking for somebody to come and have a look at a tree pretty quickly. So I picked up the phone and said, I'm in Dudley, and on my way back past I will call in, because I come down the A42 so I can nip off and go into Ashby de la Zouch. So I'm about 4 minutes away from Ashby de la Zouch, and we're going to go have a look at this tree. It's an urgent request. They've phoned today and said they want someone to come today and have a look at this tree. How urgent it will be, I don't know until I get there. But apparently they had a tree removed not that long ago, and now they're worried about this one as well. So yeah, so we're on our way, heading to this school, and we'll see what it's like. But yeah, it's 4:45 on Friday, last minute job, and as you all know, at this time of year it starts to get dark pretty quick. So we're already starting to lose a bit of light. I think the sun has set, so it's going to get dark in about an hour's time, so I need to have a quick but thorough assessment of this tree. And then it's back to HQ and prepping for a site visit tomorrow. Yes, I'm working on a Saturday. I'm driving all the way down to Hatfield or Welling, which is about 2.5-3 hours south of where I'm based, and we've got a route survey, or got to do a bit of a trial dig, see if we can find some roots. But for now, let's tackle the school job. So this is the tree in question, which I've just been and had a closer look at. Actually not the easiest tree to get to, but I've had far worse. And as you'll notice, they've recently had a beech tree on the boundary fail. Quite a large beech tree as well, not a small tree. So from this side you can actually see the beech that's failed previously, or should I say fairly recently. You can see that quite clearly from this side, and you can see the damage that it's done to the nearby building, and it's just lucky that nobody was injured or worse when that one failed, because it's a big old beech tree. So they've been very fortunate there. What that means is it's left this beech tree that we're looking at with a change of load, and that's what we'll note invalid, is that all of a sudden now you've had these two trees growing concurrently for a number of years, and all of a sudden now that crown predisposed to new wind loading and forces. It looks quite drastically like it leans, which it's going to, because for years it's grown alongside at a similar rate. You know, these two trees are very similar proportions, or were until that one failed. So they've grown together, and so this beech tree has been forced to try and grow out towards the light and maximise its crown area. And really from this side the lean is not as exaggerated. I've used the probe and probed this all the way down to this seam and cleared a lot of leaf litter, and there was this old decaying piece of severed ivy, as you can see. So I'm just leaving Ashby de la Zouch and on my way home it's gone 6:15. It's actually 6:20, and I'm on my way back. About a 40-minute drive back to HQ. Yep, so just after 7 o'clock I'll be getting back to HQ. But an interesting site nonetheless, and an interesting tree. Valid risk assessment done. It's come out as acceptable risk, which I think, you know, is where my gut was telling me anyway before I even pulled out the Valid app and ran it through it. Vitality's quite good on it. Full crown outline, no dieback, you know, no dead wood or anything like that. Previous wounds, pruning wounds or previous failures have occluded well, so there's good occlusion on those wounds, which shows good response to wounding. So you know, good vitality. And then on our anatomy, again, pretty good anatomy. Load, there is a change of load. There has been a change of load from obviously the loss of the nearby beech tree, which it shared a crown with. But all in all, not the worst tree I've ever seen by far. But yeah, I'll have an interesting conversation with that landowner about what they should do moving forward. And in my opinion, moving forward, they should be doing something about their tree stock. It looks like a previous inspection was done, but they no longer have an up-to-date tree risk survey of their site, and it sounds like they have quite a bit of tree cover. They have quite a large estate, a lot of mature trees in areas of high confluence, used regularly when the property or the estate is open, and they don't have any policy. They don't have an up-to-date survey of their tree stock. So definitely something that they need to do as part of their duty of care, because they have a duty of care to visitors of their land and neighbouring properties and members of the public who are using the access tract down the side of their estate. So they have a duty of care under the Owners and Occupiers Liability Act. So yeah, we'll follow up with that one and possibly go back to do some risk surveys of the whole tree stock. There we go. Just finished opening up these 3 trenches. I've done quite a long one back towards the property, and then a middle one and a far one. The far one I just basically stuck with the slabs that were already loose as to not cause more damage really. The middle one was because I was tracing one that came off the main route that we've discovered closest to the tree, and then that extends towards the house. So we've manually excavated them really carefully, hand trowel, using the brush just to sweep all the loose soil and clear the roots as best as possible. Then we've washed them off with a bit of water so that we can see the colour for ID purposes, and get a good view of the roots really without the muck on. So I've just been around and mapped all of the roots and done a LiDAR scan using my iPhone, and I've also took some photos and measured all of the roots. I've also collected some root cuttings, just some of the smaller ones, so I can ID the roots. Got a couple here as well, just some smaller ones. Actually got a bit of a sweat on doing that, and now I've got to put them all back. I've got to try and get these slabs down as best as possible, back reset where they were, although I don't think that's going to quite be as easy as it sounds. But definitely enough evidence here to show that there are some large structural roots towards the property. We've got a load of smaller fibrous ones, which is not unexpected, but certainly the biggest measurement I've made so far is 10 centimetres across, so some pretty big roots. We've also got further damage down towards the property, so towards these pillars. I've not lifted these slabs because they're still quite well set, although the mortar in between them is starting to sort of crumble and disappear. Anyway, we're going to try and cover this back over now we've got all the evidence we need. So as you can see, I've made a reasonable attempt to get the slabs back down, as well, no worse than they were originally. They weren't in the best of condition. The roots had obviously lifted them all up. So I'm on the M1 heading back to HQ. That was a really interesting site actually. Very clear cut in my opinion that those roots are definitely heading towards the property. I don't think there's any dispute with that. And they are structural roots, definitely. I mean, the size of some of those roots in diameter and just simply measuring them across as well. We used the LiDAR scanner on the iPhone 15 Pro, and I will show you some of them once I've processed them all. But I did a LiDAR scan of the whole scene, so all of the frontage with the open excavations, the 3 excavations that we did, and then I scanned each one individually, so that essentially we're recording some really robust evidence. So should the tree officer question any of the evidence that we've recorded, I think it's pretty obvious, more so than just annotated photos, what we've done, how we went about doing it, and also using the LiDAR means that all of our trenches are to scale, and I actually did some physical measurements as well, so I can guarantee a little bit of accuracy with the scale, but they can stand on that site in a sort of digital sense, put themselves amongst those trenches and really examine for themselves the direction of the roots, the size of the roots, the sort of path and orientation of the roots, and hopefully that will give them sufficient evidence. So yeah, we'll write that up, provide the evidence and see what happens and see what the outcome is, and hopefully we can get the outcome that our client is hoping for. So yeah. Right, I'm going to continue my journey about 30 minutes from HQ now, and then I'm going to end my working week, and next week we've got a lot on. We've got a massive survey in Leeds, so stay around for that. I'm hoping we'll find some decent trees on that site. If not, it's just going to be me walking around fields for the best part of 5 days. But yeah, anyway, thank you for watching once again. Thank you for coming on this journey. Thanks for all your support, and remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you next week.